This week on The Breakdown, it's the final round of Super Rugby and 7 teams chase the final 4 playoff spots. Could Super Rugby benefit from a golden point rule? And it's time to talk the Blues. Could 2020 be their year? Plus Camo and Robin Brooke chat that 1994 final and our current locking stocks. We have the Deaf Blacks, all coming up in the next hour. It's The Breakdown. Hello and welcome to the Breakdown. Tonight we're going to bring our A game. We've got plenty to talk about. We're going to try and explain to you why Super Rugby is so close in 2019. My team for tonight, Ali Williams is back. Richard Turner and Kendra Cocksedge goes from guest to panellist. Kendra, welcome. You're looking forward to the opportunity to get on this chair and voice your opinion?
Yeah, it's been good to be promoted. Ali thinks I've been demoted, but I like to think it is a promotion.
This is a step up, and these are you want to go head-to-head with these guys, right? Because I got a feeling there's plenty to talk about, and once again, the Crusaders continue to roll.
Yeah, I'm ready to fire some shots.
Whoa, whoa,
Oh,
whoa.
really?
Big talk, big
She's loaded
talk.
the cannons, ready to go.
Well, yeah,
Beautiful.
You've gone
Beautiful.
back-to-back. You were here last week. You got an invite to come back again.
I stayed here.
You just
You keep feeding a stray dog, they keep coming back.
Yeah,
Jeff.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it, as well as looking forward to catching up with Ian Jones and Robin Brooke and talking some glory days in the Battle of the Bridge and, of course, the All Blacks. But tonight, we're going to start with the news and go straight to Steph.
Yep, and in news this week, it's more great news for the Crusaders, as if we need any more. Will Jordan has announced where he will be for the next 3 years.
In news this week, Steve Chu will step down as CEO of the NZRU at the end of this year, ending a 12-year service to the game in New Zealand. Will Jordan has re-signed with the Crusaders until 2022, quashing rumours of a move south for the young fullback. The Waratahs will rest their Wallabies for their game against the Highlanders in Invercargill this weekend. And the Crusaders will retain their name for the ongoing future, but will feature a new logo in the oncoming season. The franchise came to this decision after a review of the name and its historical relevance to the religious crusades.
And in some extra news this week, unfortunately, it's bad news for the Wallabies. Rugby Australia's Gittos law won't be relaxed to allow lock Will Skelton to play at this year's Rugby World Cup. And also this morning, there was an update from Nehi Milner-Skudder on his injury. He's saying after ongoing issues with his shoulder, the best decision was for him to go under the knife again. Now, he says he's had a few injuries, but this one has definitely been the toughest, both physically and mentally. But he's not ready to give up anytime soon. Good on him. And I hear he's actually on the kickoff this week.
Yes, Thursday night, Steph. For you, to lose someone like this who has been a character, but he has been one of our All Blacks we've loved to watch play.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, But I love that he said that he's not ready to give up yet. He keeps coming back and he keeps trying everything he can. So good on him.
Absolutely. A great character. Looking forward to hearing from him on Thursday. Ali, this was the guy, though, 4 years ago who made his mark on the world stage.
Yeah, he showed that, you know, in one season you can go from sort of a little unknown to a world beater. And, I mean, he really lit the team on fire and then lit the All Black environment on fire and then took it to the world stage. So,
almost our last genuine bolter. Really. Where he came from.
Carl Tunukuafi's not bad, though. That's not a bad story.
That's another one. Yeah, but and what he brought was something really different.
Yeah.
And I think that's what made him so good at the highest level, because our opposition or our opponents had always seen pretty much the same from out wide, and all of a sudden we brought this kid that was just amazing on his feet and brought another element that they hadn't seen before.
Yeah, he's got unbelievable footwork. He can read a game well, and he does well on the wing out there.
Yeah, there was a skill set you weren't used to seeing. Another good news to come out over the last 24 hours, and this is from the Highlanders, and I say this on a national scale as well. Ben Smith's been cleared to play this weekend, and Kendra, that's big news for the Highlanders, but for the All Blacks, because overcoming a hamstring injury just means that he's back with his confidence and hopefully he's going to be able to kick on.
Yeah, I mean, he's an absolute legend. Highlanders are going to welcome him back with open arms. Talented player, great under the high ball, leads the team really well as well.
But a bit of relief, and they'll be hoping.
I hope he stretches well on Friday night, though, Jeff. They've gone to Invercargill. It's cold down there. Just stretch well, Ben.
Don't you get on Invercargill. Do not at all. There's no doubt. It'll be perfect down there.
It'll just be cold.
Yeah, we'll be ready. We'll be prepared. I'm not sure you're down.
Don't worry about Ben from accounts, mate. He can handle any condition, any time, any day.
Yeah, well, He's part of the playoff picture. The Highlanders are part of the playoff picture. But the four teams, the top four teams of Super Rugby in 2019, they stood out. They are clear. They are cut above. And now they've confirmed their spots in the playoffs. Now, there's still a decision to be made, or a game in hand for the Jaguares and Brumbies to see who finished second and third. To be fair, the Jaguares have got the Sunwolves at home. They'll back themselves to win that. The Crusaders outstanding on the weekend, demolishing the Rebels, and the Hurricanes got a very, very, very good win on the road. Let's talk about these four teams. Let's start with the Crusaders. Your Crusaders, you mentioned the fact that where they're at, reality is their season's been very good. Are they where they need to be going into the playoffs? Remembering also, too, they have the weekend off.
Yeah, I mean, I think they started off the season really well, almost untouchable. And then the last few weeks been a little bit rocky. They put on a great performance against the Rebels. In saying that, Rebels maybe a bit of an average side, but there's some individual and some great tries scored out there.
Let's be honest, the Rebels were rubbish. I watched this game and, I mean, it's almost like they turned up and didn't want to tackle. Yes, the Crusaders scored some good tries. The ball bounced their way. I just put a caveat on whether they're back to their very best. They played against a poor side on the weekend.
They're back to their best. I mean, when the winger, mind blank, he can kick it. Severu kicks it. It should be going into the 7th row in the grandstand, and it chips inside the field.
They had a little bit of luck.
Lady Luck is on their side.
They played against a rubbish team. Look, they were better. They're better than they have been, and that'll probably be the biggest thing they'll take out of it. But I thought they've been a bit wobbly the last 3 weeks.
We knew they'd respond, though, the fact after their loss to the Chiefs in Suva, and they did that. I thought they were brilliant. At the same token, I think you have to say the same for the Jaguares, against the Sharks. The Jaguares trying to confirm their spot as the #1 team, and I look at them, and we're going to talk about them a little bit later on the show as well, Pod, but they're a side for me that look incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, well, there's the difference. There's a side that turned up to play, but they also have the firepower. They're a very good team, this Jaguares team. As you say, we'll go deeper into them later on, but they're the one side that have really earned their place in that in that top spot. That's a tough conference this year, that African conference.
Oh, definitely.
It was tough to pick, wasn't it, Nelly?
I think you picked it about 6 weeks ago, Goldie, but...
I think you'll find it was 8 weeks ago. But anyway, carry on.
Look, I'll give you credit because you need it all the time, But they're playing with a flair that we sort of bashed to start with, and then it's kept getting better and better, and they're playing with also a security in terms of when they play with the ball, you know they're not just chucking it away. They've still got chance to build phases. And some of their inside runners, their backs, and then their forwards. I mean, the one weak point that they've got, which we'd never talk about in an Argentinian side, is their scrum. Otherwise, generally, they're strong all over the field.
They have rotated their players in and out, though, and Augustine Creevy, one of their best, has come off the bench. Whether they're foxing there or they've been rotating them knowing they're going to win the playoffs, I'm not too sure. Kendra, I want to ask you about the other team, which no one's talked about, and it's the Australian Conference and the Brumbies, and whether or not they're good enough to go on and win. This Brumbies side, they're winning their games at home. They're going to have a quarter-final at home. Are they dangerous?
Here's your first shot to load a cannon and fire it.
I think
they're not.
With the Brumbies, they're... I mean, they know how to play, quarterfinals and finals footy. But I don't know if they are going to be good enough after this weekend's game. It'll be interesting to see. They're another team that are playing with a bit of confidence. And you kind of hit a miss. You're not quite sure how they're going to turn up on the day.
Well, they've got a great 13-man maul.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. I look at them.
The one-trick pony, Jeff.
They're so structured and boring. It's ridiculous. They can't go all the way.
OK, so if they can't go all the way, can the Hurricanes?
Yeah, I think so. I think they can go. They can go all the way. They've got flair out wide. The issue I've got is their tight five.
We said that about this team last year, though, Paul.
Whether they can muscle, but they find a way to win, even though when their tight five's being dominated.
That's right. They're the one side that regardless of home and away, they're the one side that you back as the underdog to go through this competition. They've got enough firepower. Yeah, a question mark around whether they can, you get into the playoffs, you need a good platform.
They've got some guys coming in fresh, though. Bowden Barrett's hard. It seems as though, is it just you? It's like he hasn't played many games. Yeah. Last year they came at this point of the season, Kendra, and they were fatigued and tired. They won 10 in a row early. They look a better version of themselves this year. Yeah, I think they're going to come out firing in the next few games, and they've got a lot of great individuals, and I think that's if they can put that together with their team structures, and as you said, they were a bit fatigued last year. Looking at the games that Bodie's kind of played, he's going to be nice and fresh, and a few other players too. So hopefully they can go through. Bit of a Hurricane supporter. So. It'll be interesting to see what happens to the fact they play the Blues this weekend. The Blues got nothing to play for other than pride. They've talked about being prepared and ready to fire their shots. What's the attitude of the Hurricanes going into this game then?
Oh, I think it's a dangerous one, but I think a Blues-Hurricanes match has always got enough edge to it for them not to take it lightly. You know, the Blues are going to give everything to it. They've got to. I think the Blues will probably win this one.
It's the same story every week from Ali Williams. All right.
Still got hope.
OK, the real talking point is not about the top 4. It's actually about the 7 teams chasing the final 4 spots in the playoffs. Let's have a look at who they are and what the equation is actually. It's actually really complicated. And the Bulls play the Lions. The Rebels take on... They're at home to the Chiefs. The Stormers play the Sharks and the Highlanders have got the Waratahs. So everyone is playing each other. So the formula is complicated. Reality is the Highlanders get the first chance on Friday to put the pressure on everybody else, but it'll be out of their hands. My question for my team tonight is, which team's going to be the most disappointed that they don't manage to find a way to get through, Ali? Because the nature of the competition, who's missed the opportunity this year?
Yeah, I would say probably the Highlanders. I think that, you know, there's been several games that they probably could have won.
Does that make them dangerous if they do sneak in?
Yeah, I think any team that sneaks in that group, you know, of 7 that makes it, I think are dangerous because, you know, you've got one trick, you've got one chance, and you give it everything in the quarters, where others sort of potentially build into it, knowing they're potentially semis the following week. So, I mean, for me, Pod, I think the Highlanders will be the ones that upset.
Yeah, and let's be fair, they've probably, if you analyse those games, they've probably got the best chance, given that the Waratahs have decided that everyone's going to stay at home, so they'll send the B team over. So, yeah, they've got a good chance, and if they get that chance, they're the sort of team that will not let it slip.
Yeah. It's going to take a bonus point to get that. But you look at other sides, the Rebels got off to the fast start. You think the Lions have been a team that's been in the final for the last couple of seasons. I mean, who's the biggest surprise that they haven't managed to just secure their spot a little bit earlier for you, Kendra?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the Chiefs, they'll be pretty gutted around... I mean, they had a lot of injuries, riddled with injuries. But I mean, I'll back Ali on that. I think the Highlanders will be really disappointed. You know, if they do sneak through, they'll be dangerous.
The Chiefs, for me, are a great story. And I think they've got a good shot at just the way the games fall. They beat the Rebels, they overtake them. Their season's been outstanding for me, Pod. I mean, you think all the adversity they've faced. And I put my hand up when they lost Damien McKenzie. I didn't believe they would be in this position with 1 week to go.
They've certainly shown an incredible amount of steel and fortitude around. I mean, some of their performance, we all know that, you know, the big tackle performance, the 260-odd tackle performance, that was gutsy. Then the following week, you know, they fronted up again. So, yeah, they're a gutsy side. And look, a couple of weeks ago, I didn't think they had enough games to make the playoffs. The cards have fallen in their favour, and now they've got an opportunity. And you know, they're playing a Rebels side that got put to bed quite comfortably last week. So.
The 4 South African teams, though, are all there, Ali, and they're all in a position to find their way through. Who is the most dangerous of them for you?
Yeah, if we look at it, we wrote off the Chiefs. I wrote off the Chiefs week 4. We bagged the South African teams and we said they're all rubbish.
No, you did.
I did. We said they're all rubbish, and now all 4.
Yeah, when Sia Khaleesi was sitting here, the captain of the Springboks, you did that. But anyway,
I was motivating him. I'm an emotional man that motivates people, and now look how well he's doing. Sorry, mate. Send me the check later. No, what I'm talking about is I think in a World Cup year, it's very interesting in terms of who builds, who mentally develops faster, who's sort of times their run. And if we look at the South African teams, to me, I think the Lions are going to be a team that's going to be dangerous. If they can make this week, I think they'll slowly build with the personnel they've got on the team.
A quick question for you before we talk about a concept around Super Rugby. Do we think bonus points should contribute to whether a team makes it through? The fact you've got the ability to get 2 on any given day, whether or not you lose by 7. Pod, you look at this, the fact that reality, should that be the difference between making a playoff and not?
Here's the thing, they're there. Should they be there? So the only issue I've got with bonus points is I don't ever think in a game of rugby you should get rewarded for losing. And that's my only problem with the bonus point system. So it'd be really interesting if we analysed it and dragged out all those, you know, you lose by 7 points or less. if we drag those out, what would our table look like then? Because it's just, why do we give points away for coming second?
At age 5, mate.
It's a two-horse
When
race.
you lose, you get a bonus point.
It's a two-horse race. You can't give anything for coming second in a two-horse race. That's the only issue I have with them.
Agree.
Try scoring all those. Yeah, great.
All right, let's talk about a season where there has been an incredible number of draws. I think 6 we have had, and we don't normally see that in Super Rugby. It indicates to me that we have a very even competition. So, Kendra, Rugby League has its golden point. Is it time for rugby to consider the fact a golden score, a period of time where a team can go out and win a game that is locked up after 80 minutes?
I mean, I think it would be good to have a golden score, 10 minutes each way. I think you want to clear cut, you want a winner. I don't know whether you guys agree or disagree, but I think that's the biggest thing in the game. As you said, there's lots of draws this year. But I think 10 minutes each way, golden point, done, dusted, no... and then if you need to, like Ali said, toss the coin.
That's exactly what Ali would talk about.
Did you see that footage of Jonathan Thurston? That is magical.
Here's my question.
Why take it away?
Here's my question. So you get to the end of it, you've added on all the text stripe, it's still the same, and you flip a coin?
I don't think we should flip a coin.
I think flipping a coin's a little far-fetched.
What's the solution?
I would do a drop kick.
Okay, so you go to that. Is that a fair
drop
way
kick off. We're not football.
Then we'll be arguing that that's not a fair way.
I've seen you drop kick. We don't want a drop kick off.
Okay, let's put the Lions back in New Zealand. Let's put hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and let's walk away kissing your sister and having a draw. It's ridiculous. You don't have draws.
And I agree with you that no one in the end is satisfied unless you have a trophy in your cabinet and a draw lets you keep it.
But
no one's happy with a draw.
If you can't do it in 80 minutes, then you haven't done... that's it.
But
You've got 80 minutes to do it. You've got 80 minutes to win the game.
How much more exciting will it be?
So you roll another
minutes?
20 minutes, we've got 100 minutes of rugby and you still end up with a draw, same result.
But you end up with...
You've got 8 minutes.
You have to find a winner. Yes, you do.
You don't have to. If cricket can go for 5 days and have a draw, then so can rugby after 80 minutes.
You want your money back from the TAB with a draw. Oh, you've obviously this year taken it. So you're happy with the way it's come back this year, haven't you? You get a draw, you get your money back. You don't want to lose that
I've lost less this year.
I think it brings, I tell you what, the ability to perform under pressure to a whole new level, to get so many more games where all of a sudden it's riding on in every single play. We see it in rugby league all the time. Surely rugby should consider it.
Yeah, I think it would create a lot more excitement, like if you have drop kicks all over the show, if it's
actually, I didn't now think of that.
That is magical.
I can just see you off the back of a scrum, just deciding it's my chance to have a wee go.
No, you've got 80 minutes to win the game. Win it in 80 minutes, we'll go home.
Oh, I knew you'd bring old school to the show.
Listen to you. You're so conservative, it's painful. 80 minutes to win a game of rugby. What happens if the referee's had a shocker for 80 minutes? That's your fitness levels, isn't it? That's what you're worried about, isn't it?
I'm happy to sit at home, but I just
fitness level. Look down the camera and tell the people that you couldn't play
you've
for
got
80 minutes.
Otherwise, make the game 90 minutes then. Why is that a solution? Make the game longer.
No, we're just trying to find a result. Things are very tight. Sometimes we need to change an element of a game, which is more emphasis on a drop kick, more emphasis
in the time allowed,
more pressure on the referee to make a stupid decision. So then that 10 minutes, he'll blow a stupid.
And I think you use the example of league. They're still debating the golden point.
And look at the highlights reel of league.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. All in golden time.
To the team that win it.
Well, who cares about the
You had time to. You had time to do it,
mate.
Well, speaking of who could have done with a few opportunities, maybe they would like to have got to golden point in 2019. And we mentioned at the top of the show, will it be 2020 now for the Blues? They are the first New Zealand team to be out. I know, Ellie, it's frustrating, it's disappointing, but let's talk about their season, talk about where they're at. Leon McDonald, his first season in charge with the group. Where do you think they are now compared to the start of the season? Are they a better version than they were last year?
It's so frustrating when you're still in a season and you talk about the Blues for next season. You're sitting there going...
But there's only 1 week to go.
Oh, God. Look, are they better than where they were? Yes, I think they're better than where they were. Was there a stretch in that middle part of the season that everyone said, whoa, there's some real mental edge, there's some real sort of what we used to call the mongrel dog in there, which they just found ways to win? Have they dropped off in certain elements, certain games? Yes, and is it frustrating? On a scale, have they got better? Yes, they've got better, but are they where they should be? In my opinion, no.
Pod? Who wants to go? Who wants to...
I think Kendra's probably... got a difference of opinion with Ali on that.
I think, the very first game of the season, they looked pretty threatening against the Crusaders, and then to lose that... but I think there's a few key players that they're missing in key positions. maybe they're 8, 9 and 10. I think they're probably a little bit less than goal
Whoa, stop the bus. Did you just say they're number 8?
Yep.
I think as a group, I support the fact.
He's the world's most destructive number 8.
He is destructive. But if you talk about the consistency across the season, I think they've guys who have standed up. I've been better. But the fact that every week, every single week,
working... How many minutes that guy's put in this season?
Yeah.
I'll go back to your point. I'll give you that they need key positions. I don't think 8's one of them. I'll argue that. But for the want of a goal kicker that kicked at 70%, and at this level, that's not even acceptable.
Correct.
For the want of a goal kicker, they're in the playoffs comfortably.
But they're not.
No, I know
we can say that every year. We can have this discussion.
No, so the question
we didn't do this.
We could talk about the Chiefs' injuries. We could talk about the Waratahs Falau factor.
No, but they are in the conversation.
We just missed the goal kicker. It's that simple. We're so close.
So you're putting the responsibility on a young man.
No,
saying, you know what?
Not a young man. I'm just saying the
over
goal
one
kicker.
play on every game. I just think it's bigger than that.
a goal kicker would change it?
He's a goal kicker.
We would have won 3 games.
Yeah. They'd be in
and then we'd be in the playoffs.
You're saying it may not have been...
He's a good-looking kid, though. I mean, let's give it to him.
This is the thing for me. You talk about... These guys are in a position where we've been, the Blues have been, for a long time. I say we because I've coached here. Yep. I was with this group.
It's a tough old gig for you.
It's a tough old gig, and you were there, Ali. And if you cleaned out a few more racks, I might still be coaching. But anyway, I'd still be there. But what I believe is that this Blues team is better than last year.
Of course it is.
Yeah. But they're still not good enough to make the playoffs.
100%.
And so they've got to find a way to get more mature, to get better leadership and show that when the pressure comes on, because when they got on their got some momentum, Ali, they were very good.
Correct.
But not good enough across a number of games.
It's a consistency over the season is what we're talking about. It's not like, they uncovered Clifford, the big red dog. I mean, I think he's one of the players of the tournament. Nanai has been, I think he's got one of the most running meters in the tournament. So they've got individuals that are playing well. I think in patches they played extremely well. I think collectively over the season, there's just little games that they need to touch up, goal kicker, things like that, that force to win.
No Manonu, no Sonny Bill Williams probably, no Milani Nanai. You've got Matt Duffy, I think, who's heading offshore as well. Kendra, all of a sudden, that's some experience who have actually been playing really well for them. They're not easy to replace.
No, they're not, and that's, we're already talking about 2020. Going back, they started all right. I think something in their culture must have changed for this year, and they do, you can kind of see that. But
Leon McDonald, Tom Coventry.
Yeah. And putting it down to the goal kicker,
But Turner and Kendra was part of it last year, and you went inside that camp, and they talked about having a strong culture. They talked about that. He's still one of the coaches there. I don't think that's a problem.
Then there's one of your differences. Last year they talked about it, this year they're living it. So I'm seeing that.
So you're seeing that?
Yes, I'm seeing the change, and I think that's...
Has that directly resulted in better performances on the field?
Yeah, if you're comparing it to 2018, I think you've seen better performances on the field. Has it manifested into positive results? No, so they'll be disappointed with that. But they've got the foundation, I think, and for all Blues fans out there, I think that's the positive for you. They've got the foundation there. Yes, they do need to recruit some talent, but that's a challenge, and guess what? They start now.
I don't think they get the chance to do that.
Their recruitment is very crucial. It needs to be at a more mature level. I mean, the impact that Manonu had, I would say, is second to none. Sonny Bill, if we're losing those players, that's the hard part. You've got to replace like for like in that area.
I actually don't have an issue with their talent level. I don't have an issue with a lot of their players, including Akira Ioane and Dalton Po'amali'i and Blake Gibson, where all their players can get to. The trouble is they're losing leadership again. They're losing experience. And to me, that has been one of their key issues, that they've accepted that and believe, and they've talked about it in the past.
Robin Brooks coming out of retirement, and he's going to muscle up again. That's what I've heard.
Muscle up, he always did. There was never an issue about that. Well, exciting news for Sky today. Exclusive rights for the women's tournament coming up. It is the Super Rugby series. Kendra, you're a part of it. It's coming up. This is fantastic news. Live and exclusive on Sky. Here are 4 games. Tough schedule, though. You've got 3 games in 8 days. But talk us through it. What have you got coming up? Yeah,
there's a bit of a tight turnaround. We kind of gone to 1 game a week in the past, but now we're back into our 4-day turnarounds. Canada first up, which will be pretty tough, but we've got a week between that French game and that England game, which will be much needed, obviously with the French beating us last year, so we're kind of going back there to try and get some revenge on that game.
This is the top 5 teams in the world, right?
Yeah, top 5 teams in the world. Yeah.
I've got a little bit of an issue here, Jim. Well, no, it's not. It's a massive issue.
Massive.
You're paying the top 5 teams in the world and you're paying 3 of them in 8 days?
Correct.
You need a better union rep. Seriously, how do they get away with that in the modern game? What do we talk about player welfare? And this is the elite level for the women's game, and they're making them play.
So how do you
3
prepare
test
for that then?
matches
What have
in
you talked
8
about?
days. That's preposterous.
I mean, we've done it before. It's just something we've kind of always done, and I think, you know, recovery obviously plays a big part in that. Time on feet, the amount of training. You've got all that support now to be able to work through that. So that's going to be the main thing, is recovery after the games and got to get ready to go. Got to be conditioned
Depth
for it.
of squad, obviously, is
depth of
important.
squad,
But you can't actually train in between that. That is purely get into that ice
Glenmore will
bath.
find a way.
How do you,
We'll train.
how do you train in between that?
train.
That's ridiculous.
Right.
So you're
We're
going to
not
play,
precious here. We're not precious
recover.
here.
Oh, well, I was hell of a precious, because anything more than 5 days, I was no good. And now it's anything over 3 years,
Well, that's not
I'm
the end
no
of the
good.
campaign, though, in 2019. Back-to-back test matches, double headers of Perth and Auckland, double headers last year as well, was played in Sydney and then back here in New Zealand as well, and the Laurie O'Reilly Memorial Trophy. And Kendra, once again, this is a Wallaby side that, yes, they've got a long way to go, but they're getting better and better.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting better and better for sure. They've got that Super W competition over there now, and, you know, there are some talented players in there, and, you know, it's always good to play them year on year.
It's an exciting program. Yep. I mean, irrespective of the fact that that's a tough tournament, that's an exciting program. Good to see them getting games. That's that's the positive side, isn't it?
Yeah. And Ali, you'll be across all of this.
It's on the back of my head, mate. I know it all this.
That's the front of your head.
It's at the back, mate. It's at the back.
Already.
No, because at the front you lose it.
Yeah.
At the back it's locked in. You can't get rid of it.
I've lost plenty.
It's been quite deep tonight.
You have.
Oh.
He's gone to places he hasn't gone before in the breakdown.
Mate, I've gone all...
Well, this is what happened when JK's not here.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
gotta
you're
take
actually focusing on what's being talked about.
I've got to take the shrink roll that JK normally takes, you know. Sorry about my dress team. I couldn't find the
Mate,
suede
you're looking
jacket that my
sharp. You got new
granddad
shoes
wore
on
45
tonight.
years
You got
ago.
new shoes on tonight and everywhere. Well, the Deaf Blacks have just concluded their representative season. They took on Argentina Deaf, who were here, and there were 3 fantastic test matches.
We're here today for the Deaf Blacks test against Argentina. We had our first test on Sunday and the Deaf Blacks won at Waitemata Rugby Football Club. It was set up in 1991. New Zealand Deaf Rugby was founded and it's been going ever since. Good to see the growth and the international games being played now, and I'm really happy to see that. You know, I'm looking forward to that being passed down to future generations so that they've got a deaf rugby history to look back at. We've got 3 different zones in New Zealand Deaf Rugby. We have Southern, Central and Northern, and we have an Easter weekend tournament, a National Deaf Rugby tournament, and from that we select a national team of 24 players. Mostly they're deaf, but we also have people who, what we call an oral, where they use speech and lip reading, but there's a decibel level of hearing loss, which you have to have on average in both ears to play. Oh yeah, the huck is amazing. You know, it's a really powerful thing. You feel the ground vibrating with the stamping, and it really hits you in the heart. It's an honour to be able to go out there and do that, and you feel really privileged to be in New Zealand Deaf Rugby and representing the team. We use our eyes, we're very visual people. It's pretty simple for us. You keep your eyes peeled, you watch the ball. If there's a mistake, the ball's dropped or it's knocked on, then you check, you'll look over at the ref and you can tell what's going on, or if the ref's sort of making hand signals like keep playing, then you just do that. I played as in the hearing team as the only deaf player, and I would not hear the ref blowing the whistle, so I wouldn't know how to stop, so I might just keep running, and the hearing players would help me by tapping me on the shoulder and saying, oh, we've stopped. Moving on to deaf rugby, getting into that, everybody was deaf, so the ref, was actually quite amazed that we were playing rugby. It was the first time they were reffing without a whistle, so they were waving. Each team would help by tapping each other on the shoulders to say, okay, stop the play. Oh, best feeling in the world. Yeah, very, very hard game. Harder than the score showed. Yeah, it's really good to be a role model for the kids, especially the deaf children, that they can aim for something like that and be a deaf black one day. Deaf people turn out to support their community, they bring their families and friends.
I believe the benefits are that they come together as one. They're very cohesive, really strong brotherhood. and they get to know each other even though they have different levels of hearing loss.
Brothers, sisters involved, you know, big hearts, people with huge hearts for the game, really giving, and regardless of what happens, they really support us. Look at all the people around here tonight, you know, the community, you know, we're really grateful to everybody for their support. You know, it's like New Zealand, we're into our rugby and we have that here. So we're really, really lucky to have everybody here.
Coming up, Carmo and Robin Brooke discuss the 1996 South African tour, and will the All Black selectors choose specialists or swingman locks for Rugby World Cup?
The All Blacks about to appear onto Kings Park. Gets up beautifully done, Ian Jones. Here's Robin Brooke, grabs the first one for the All Blacks. Rickelman, Spencer, Zumzan Brooke. Look at this. Sensational. It's a race to see who gets it. Robin Brooke. Ian Mertens spies the gap. Andrew Mertens. It's got Wilson with the pace down the right wing side. Wilson through one. Ian Jones reaches out, and that's a super try for Ian Jones. Springboks getting up very quickly. Marshall gets away though. Beautiful run by Marshall. Now he's got them winding one way or the other. Finds Robin Brooke. Away for Ian Jones. And Jeff Wilson. What a superb try for Jeff Wilson.
Oh, that is pretty to watch. That is rugby at its best.
Well, it's as simple as this. It's before Retallick and Whitelock. It was Jones and Brooke. These two guys, you saw it there, the beneficiaries. Oh, he served it up, I served it up. It was great fun. I don't know how many rucks you were hitting them, boys, if you're out in the open. It was outstanding. Great to have you with us, Carmo, Rob, on the show. Look, I want to talk to you. You played together so often, over 50 test matches together. Let's talk about that. Let's start with that. What makes a great locking combination?
Oh, I think you have different sort of skill sets at the front of the line-out, middle of the line-out. Carmo sort of commanded the middle of the line-out. And
who did the calling?
I think we shared it around, but I think Carmo did most of it.
Well, it depends if it's in the front of the
selectors,
or not really,
yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
But we actually started playing a lot further before that in, was it
Secondary
84?
schools, yeah.
Secondary schools, North Auckland Secondary Schools.
Really?
So partnership goes way back.
I mean, what are the things, you know, when you're talking about coming together and you play for different teams provincially, but when you get into an All Blacks, how much of it is about establishing that connection and understanding exactly what role you're going to play?
Oh, well, over time, as Carmo said, we played with each other well before the All Blacks, and playing against each other and not so much club footy, but provincial, we sort of knew each other's strengths and weaknesses, and he was a little bit before my time. I think he was in the All Blacks about 3 or 4 years before me. So all 99 kilos of him, they could throw him out.
You've had the privilege.
This is, I've got to say, Jeff, this is the most comfortable I've ever been between these two blokes. Because normally my head's a little bit lower down. So it's quite comfortable.
So which shoulder took a little bit more work for you?
Yeah, no, that was always a nicer one to pack on.
Carmo was a little bit prickly.
It was a little bit prickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we just shared roles, though, Goldie. I mean, to be honest with you, we didn't compliment each other the way we understood each other's roles and pushed each other. And it was a pretty competitive forward pack we played in, so we all had to front up.
And at a time, though, where the game was changing and transforming, the fact you go from free jumping to then lifting, Rob. So all of a sudden there's a transition in the game that you have to evolve and adapt as a player.
And I think around the time that Laurie took over, the game became a little bit faster as well. So we used to do a lot of 150s, and we were pretty fit. We didn't carry the bulk that the guys carry today. You know, we were looking back probably quite light. So we covered a lot of ground.
It just made them easier to lift, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but also to counter that too, because the Springboks are so good at lifting and so big, we used to do a lot of short lineouts. We used to do a lot of movement, so we actually tried to beat most of our opposition on the ground. We covered huge distances on the ground to find space in the air.
Because going back to that point about the rules changing, did you ever feel like it took away one of your skill sets? Like when you were free jumping, I remember, obviously played against Rob and played with Cameron. Your strength on the ground, was moving and beating guys on the ground, and then all of a sudden it came along and anyone could get chucked up.
It changed the dynamics, but for my size, see, I'm sort of 6'5½", where it's quite short for a lock internationally. So I actually relished the lifting when it came in. But my good old mate, Olo, in test matches, sometimes he'd miss me. I said, Brownie, come on, lift me. He goes, lift yourself. Get
off the ground. Get off the ground. Get off the ground doing the... I remember you exactly saying that, because Jamie Joseph was the same for Otago. We threw to him pretty much... We had two-man line, well, one-man line out. He just ran backwards and forwards. So it changed the game. But the game transitioned, and you talked about it. You went on tour in 1992, and then all of a sudden 93, 94, 95. It became a game based around speed. Do you see any similarities maybe to the pace of the game that's being played now to... maybe 93, maybe 94, 95?
Well, Goldie, if you putting the ball into a scrum or line out, you own the game. You own the speed of the game. So you could dictate whatever sort of speed you want. So I think that's sort of pretty similar to how it was right through the history of rugby. You own the game if you got the ball. So that's probably not too dissimilar. And we got a lock-in combination that complement each other perfectly as well. These guys understand each other's play. Individually, this is, Retallick and Whitelock are brilliant players, absolutely fantastic players, but as a combination, they excel.
What is it you see when you see these guys out there? And look, I've seen you play, Robert. I played with you. I look at the skill set that you both of you had. I see similarities in the way that you play the game.
Yeah, but these guys here, I think we have similarities. These guys are probably, 6 kilos heavier. But they don't really have any weaknesses. It's a really, really strong locking combination.
But they're asked to do different things now.
Yes, they are.
The game, that's where the game's changed. And now they've got a more round skill set, the catch-pass game. And that's always been, that's a real strength.
But you've just seen them offloading.
Forward.
No, it was back out of the hands. It was back out of the hands.
These guys, they do physical stuff. It's all age and stage relative to your time, isn't it? But these guys now are they're physically robust. They do everything from getting on the ground, turning over ball, over rucks, which we probably never had to do. We just have to, hit rucks.
And you move in mass. You used to move in mass, didn't you, Camo? And that's probably one of the significant changes.
Look, and you say the game has evolved, but effectively they're still a locking combination, and good combinations need to understand each other, need to complement each other, and need to cover a really wide range of skill sets. Well, Rob and I back in the day may have done that. These guys definitely do that today. So, it's fairly similar in a lot of areas. And, it's fantastic to watch that evolution.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot here. The fact that we've been debating it, we debated on the show. We know what's coming up at the end of the year. It's a Rugby World Cup. That selection around the All Black locks, and there's a lot of debate around Scott Barrett. Where do you think his best position is, and where's he best suited for this All Black group?
Scott Barrett lock. Yeah.
Why?
You could put him at 6 and he's been there before, but you want to see his form for the Crusaders. He's absolutely dynamic.
So does he just complement the other guys? Is that the way you see it?
Well, I think he plays a little bit tighter. So, Whitelock and Retallick got the ability to play different type of roles. So, if they're pairing up with Scotty Barrett, of course, they can change and adapt their roles to sort of cover that sphere that we were talking about. But I'm with Moose on this one. I think Scott Barrett's a lock
the
forward.
Combination of those three, I think, the strongest combination we've ever had. Yep, they are outstanding.
So you'd take him solely as a lock?
Yeah,
I'd take him as a lock. Yes, he can play that other position. However, I'd take him as a lock.
I'd take 4 locks, and with Barrett the ability, if they have to play 6. But he's our third lock going into those big games.
All right, I want to talk to you about something else. Let's move away from the All Blacks and talk about things that shape you as a player. And you guys are part of something. All three of you are part of a game we can all remember. But it was provincial rivalry at its sometimes very best, but also very worst. It was the Battle of the Bridge, Onewa Domain. This was a spectacular occasion where emotions were pretty high in this match. The young, fresh faces there once again. But this was probably, for North Harbour Rugby, Camo, this was massive, this game.
This was massive. We earned the right to host the final at Onewa Domain because we'd beaten Auckland in the round robin, and because it was Eden Park, the final was in at Onewa.
You got a wee rest there, did you?
There was about
Yeah, I think it was...
there was no cards in those days.
No cards, no.
Goldie, this was effectively Big Brother taking on Little Brother. At this stage, Pod, and you were part of this game as well, Little Brother wasn't ready to take on Big Brother, and we went in the game pretty confident.
It was still a pretty close game.
I mean, it was the whole build-up though. It was that rivalry. And I was talking to Rob before. It was a stage where the flood of players from Auckland, because it was tough to make that Auckland team. It was really tough. So they came over to us. So yeah, it was a bit of that Little Brother stuff.
About the players.
We also had sponsors, mate. We had sponsors. There was a big billboard in downtown Auckland that said, "This town ain't big enough for the both of us."
Well, we were on the bus.
And then they were dark.
We were on the bus coming over, and there was a billboard. It would have been, I don't know, 100 metres long, and it was a Nike sponsor, and that said, "Auckland will either lose or lose badly." That was the big billboard, and we sort of all looked out the window.
Auckland at that time
as well. But it was a big moment in the history of North Harbour in terms of, like you say, a number of players. We shouldn't forget the quality guys, the likes of Walter and Frank.
Eric Rush came over.
Obviously, Rushy was there.
And
Strawn. But I want to talk about the fact that what a game does that in terms of growing leadership, growing belief in yourself, Carmo. And I mean, as a group, you turn around a few weeks later and you're playing together.
But that's what you want to do, mate against mate. And when you come together as an All Black team, well, it's the best of the best. And you get each other.
You look at Super Rugby, these guys are doing that every week. You look at the 5 teams we've got, and they go and play them, and they play them twice sometimes. It's like that all over again.
One of the things about that game...
The guys must be challenged mentally and physically just to go up against each other week in and week out.
And you know what's coming, right?
You know what's coming. It must be
taking
really
on guys
difficult.
like him and Sean Fitzpatrick, of course, his outstanding older brothers, Inzan Brook, was also in that game. They could just... They knew how to bait you, and we responded, didn't we, Pod?
Yeah. So what the point Carmo was trying to make was when he actually went into the same team as them, it was so much more relaxing because they didn't have them actually didn't have them chipping away.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure I remember them chipping away. I thought it never.
There was a lot of talk back then, wasn't there? You know, they don't do that.
Yeah, we saw some footage there of the tour in 1996. We know the disappointments we felt in 1995, but for me, it's obviously one of my special times in the All Blacks. For you guys, when you look back on your careers, was this tour and achieving this for the first time maybe showing what we were truly capable of?
Yeah, it was a whole lot. I think, by me, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we played the Springboks 5 times that year. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so twice here and then 3 over there.
One here and 4 over there.
So it was, it was a bit of a crazy season to do that anyway. But this was a great occasion, and for the first team to do that, it was fantastic. And we had a fair share of injuries. I think. Culhane, guys came in, JP, the cleaner. So we had our sort of challenges as well.
One of the great things about that tour was that real focus that we had to win in Durban. We won in Durban, you had a chance to win the series and tied up in Victoria. Didn't have to go to Johannesburg at Ellis Park because we knew that was a bit of a bogey team for this All Black side. And we won in Durban, and then to give ourselves the opportunity to win in Victoria, which we did, to wrap the series up 2-0. We lost in Ellis Park. We were gone by then because we had 10 test matches that year, Goalie, and John Hart picked the same 8 in all 10 test matches. I mean, that's consistency of selection right there, which leads to...
No subs either.
No,
I'm so happy about that. Well, you see that now. When you guys play Super Rugby, you see an international game. I mean, you talk about the conditioning of it. I mean, do you think... is that one of the problems, the fact that all of a sudden there's 23 guys that have an impact on a game?
Well, it is an impact players. You look at the likes of Barrett, who comes on and can change a game. You look at some of the loose forwards that come on now. If you get your bench right, you can really influence the outcome of the game, and you see it happen week in, week out. And
do you see that being a big part of the All Blacks campaign this year?
Huge part of the All Blacks campaign, a big part of the All Black campaign for the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, it's outstanding how they bring these people in. Clearly, they've been incorporated all during the week. They feel part of it all during the week, and they know what impact they need to make. They know what they have to do, Goldie.
You do get players that actually perform better off the bench. I can't sort of name any off the top of my head, but they come on, at minute 60th, and they have a huge impact, and they're better at that than starting the game.
It must be a mindset change, because I'm not sure me and him would be that good.
I remember I sat on the bench, didn't get a chance. Never even got warm. Like, we could have sat here and talked.
Speaking about players sitting on the bench, I think we all did. I sat on the bench for 4 years. for Auckland. See, that doesn't happen now.
No. Should have come over.
Should have come over.
Should have come over the harbour.
No, he might not have got the result he was looking for. He got what he was looking for. We could talk for hours with these guys. We're going to talk to them after the show in the green room. Thank you so much, Camo. Thanks, Rob. Pod, as always, great to do. We've got plenty to talk to you about after the break. Stay with us. Stick around. Still to come. Ryan Crotty and Cans for a Cause. And the Jaguares in the Super Rugby final. It could happen.
We're heading to Riccarton Primary. I think some of the kids know we're coming, some don't. They've done an awesome job collecting non-perishables, Can for a Cause for the City Mission, and they go out and give the food to families that are in need through the winter months when it's hard for some families to put food on the table. So we're just going to surprise them. I'm just going to say g'day and thank them for the hard work they've done. We just thought it was awesome what you guys did, and we just wanted to say thank you so much.
Working with Valleys to support the City Mission, I think it's an amazing cause, and it's a really nice way to sort of get out in the community and bring a little bit of awareness to kids and to families that there are people out there that struggle a little bit more. So yeah, it's a real privilege to do something like this.
The City Mission they do a phenomenal job for the community. They're the real heroes, what they do for the community. So it's nice to be able to try and help them out a wee bit.
You're welcome, bro. Good manners.
That's something that I'll miss when I'm gone. Is that tightness of the red and black community. As a community in Christchurch, I'm just so proud to be a part of it.
I think it's massively important. It's a big part of who we are as Crusaders. We feel like we represent the community, and so getting the opportunity to do things like this is really special. It's always a nice feeling coming and doing something like this, seeing a lot of happy faces, and made a few kids today, which is cool.
Cans for a Cause, yes, the great work done in Christchurch, and the Crusaders, as always, connected so much to their community. We're coming to the end of our show. We're going to go straight to extra time, and we're going to start with one of the stars of that play. It was Ryan Crotty, and it was a big weekend for Ryan down in Christchurch.
Yeah, that'd be my moment of the week, seeing Crotty, Guard of Honour, 150-odd New Brighton, which is his club down there, and then his old school, Shirley Boys High, doing a haka for him. It's pretty incredible to see that. And then he topped it off with a try at the end there, and then converting it.
You talk about leadership, Pod, you talk about guys that have big influence on a team. He's been one of those guys that in the big games, and I talk to big games, he's responded. Yeah, and
it's why he's in that top echelon, because you've got to have guys that that when they get out there, they're going to deliver everything they've got, and that kind of epitomises Ryan Crotty. I will make a little statement around that celebration, though. The Crusaders don't often get things wrong. They're a pretty good organisation. I would have thought that for a guy like Ryan Crotty, he deserved better than the West Stadium stand.
Three tiers. It's got 3 tiers.
3 seats.
And that's not a stadium.
I would like to have seen the big stand, to be fair.
Call the whole ground Ryan Crotty Stadium.
You go up next.
So my moment of the week, Jaguares. I watched this game, man. These guys are good. I think they've probably flown under the radar because they sit in that African conference. They play at funny times, so we don't really watch them a lot. But in this try, for me, this epitomises why the Jaguares are sitting at the top of that conference, because they've got a good base around their forwards, and then they have the ability to finish things off through the back line. They've got the first 2 games. They've earned the right to play their first 2 games at home in the playoffs, so they're going to be tough to beat at home, and then they can invariably come down here, and if they go well, play the Crusaders, and they'll be... they drew with them last time.
You're not happy, Ali?
Well, that Shark guy looked like he had bloody concrete in his boots, mate. He was barely even moving. I mean, he's going to make anyone look good.
When you talk about the irony of that, we were criticising the Jaguares.
He was barely moving.
I'm sorry about that. I apologise to our viewers.
He does know that. He does know that.
We go to South Africa. I don't know what's going on. I'm talking about Nani Laumapi. That's who I'm going to talk about, because everyone's talking about everyone else. I'm going to talk about a guy who makes a huge impact on the game. He runs great straight lines. This is a set-piece try. You miss 1 tackle, you miss 2 tackles, and he is gone. I don't doubt his speed. I'll tell you what, here's a guy I don't think is getting talked about enough, because you know what you're going to get out of him on a weekly basis. And I know there's congestion for that position for the All Blacks, but I'll be bitterly disappointed if he doesn't get an opportunity to do what he does and does very, very well. That's all I'll say about him. I think he should be in the picture. Now, Ali, for you, it's not a great moment to leave on for the Blues, but it was frustrations for them coming out of their games with the Reds.
It's just always frustrations with the Blues, isn't it? And then you combine the Blues with the referees, and voila, we have this. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? How's he held? That's a try. TRY. It's a try. I don't think he's held. I mean, the rules are once you on the ground, you've got to be held, that you can't then move. Well, he's clearly not held. He's got up, released the ball, and try. Your thoughts, lads?
Frustration?
I agree.
Interpretation is the problem.
And that's rugby. That's rugby. It's subjective. That's the problem. The rules aren't, or the laws aren't black and white. But I think if you rule out that try, you rule out a whole lot of those other tries where a player goes to the ground and then carries on and scores a try.
But the guy's still holding him. That guy, there was no one holding him then.
I'm sorry. I believe if you hit the deck, you should have to release the ball. That is my view. But that's not the law, so that doesn't matter. That doesn't even count. It's time now to go to Steph and go to the notice board.
On the notice board this week, of course, we've got the Hurricanes playing the Blues. So if you're keen to head along to Westpac Stadium to see that game, just use the code THANKS when you're buying your tickets and you can get 30% off all adult tickets. And on social media this week, it was World Oceans Day over the weekend. So we found this photo of Scott Robertson. What a guy. Is there anything he can't do?
The Crusader infatuation, Kendra. I mean, seriously.
Was he the only guy out surfing that day?
I was about to say that.
Seriously.
Look at those facials.
And look at him straight at the camera. He's down the barrel.
I want to know when his camera crew gets paid, mate.
Beautiful.
Following him around
And
with his
we
hair
also
locked.
found this on social. Apparently, VHS tapes deteriorate after 20 years. So that means that, unfortunately, Wallabies fans will soon not be able to watch their last Bledisloe Cup win.
Yeah, I've got a few of those, Steph, at home. Yeah, they're deteriorating as well. You've got some, haven't you?
Never seen one.
Got some of those. Yeah.
You've got some of those?
Yeah.
Oh, you've got some?
Oh, you're showing your age, lads.
And Kendra certainly hasn't got any of those.
DVD time.
Kendra, thank you so much for coming in. Pod, as always, and for you, Ali. We've got plenty of rugby coming up this weekend as well. Make sure you check this out. Napier Boys taking on Hastings Boys. That'll be a ripper. 12 p.m. on Sky Sport 1. And Sacred Heart versus Auckland Grammar, 2:30 on Sky Sport 1. Well, that's us for the breakdown, and we're done. It's Tuesday night. We're out of here. We'll see you in a week, and we'll finally know who's in the playoffs of Super Rugby.
I've got that lightning inside me, son of a god. I'm like a titan that's rising.